There is a guitar sitting in a pawn shop right now for $200, and there is another one in a glass case down the street for $5,000. Both of them are called a Les Paul. Both of them look almost identical. And if you do not know what you are looking at, you might genuinely wonder if the difference is real or just marketing. It is real, but it is not always where you expect it to be, and the most expensive option is almost never the smartest one. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what changes at every price point and which level actually makes sense for where you are as a player right now. A $200 Les Paul clone, for example Harley Benton or Glary, cuts corners in ways you can hear and feel. The body is usually basswood or agathis, not mahogany, and the top is a photoflame veneer, just a printed image rather than real carved maple. Pickups are ceramic humbuckers, wound for output but lacking warmth or clarity. Hardware is basic, with tuners that struggle to hold pitch and fretwork that often leaves sharp edges. Step up to an Epiphone Les Paul standard and the leap is immediate: a real mahogany body, a solid carved maple cap, Alnico ProBucker pickups, and Grover tuners. The guitar rings longer, chords sound fuller, and tuning becomes reliable. This is the first place where the price jump, often just a few $100s, translates directly into better tone, smoother playability, and hardware that lasts. A Gibson Les Paul Studio sits at the point where pro-level reliability becomes affordable. For $2,199, you get a set neck build, the same mahogany and carved maple recipe as pricier siblings, and a pair of Gibson's 490R and 498T humbuckers, pickups trusted by working musicians for their warmth and punch. Johnny Owens, rhythm guitarist for the Midnight Riders, calls his studio a gigging workhorse. He's played 2-hour sets without a single tuning slip, crediting the sturdy neck joint and stable hardware. The studio's stripped-down look skips ornate binding and flashy tops, but every dollar is spent on sound and durability. For players who need a guitar that handles live stress and studio takes, this is where the Les Paul starts to feel like a true professional tool. The leap into the standard tier brings more than just a logo upgrade. It is where vintage Les Paul character becomes unmistakable. The body features a carved, highly figured maple top, not just for looks, but to shape the instrument's signature snap and complexity. Underneath, a thin coat of nitrocellulose lacquer lets the wood breathe, aging naturally and adding resonance that polyurethane cannot match. Burstbucker pickups, each hand voiced to mimic the fabled late 50s PAF sound, deliver that glassy top end and chewy mid-range prized by collectors and session players alike. Even the binding and subtle inlays are throwbacks to Gibson's golden era. Every detail, from the flame in the maple to the way the finish wears over time, ties cost directly to tradition, paying for a piece of living history, not just a guitar. At the $4,000 to $5,000 tier, the Les Paul Modern takes a sharp turn into player-focused engineering. A contoured heel replaces the old-school neck joint, letting your hand glide effortlessly to the highest frets. The fretboard isn't just rosewood, it's compound radius, flattening out as you move up, so bends stay clean and chording stays comfortable. The neck profile is asymmetrical and slim, designed for speed without sacrificing grip. Locking tuners make string changes fast and keep tuning rock solid, even under heavy bends. A treble bleed circuit preserves clarity as you roll back the volume, so you never lose that singing high end. These upgrades aren't about vintage mojo, they're about modern playability, giving working musicians a tool that responds instantly to every nuance. For players who chase versatility and comfort, this is where the Les Paul becomes a true performance machine. Custom Shop. Les Pauls stand in a league of their own, representing the height of Gibson's hand-built tradition. Each guitar begins with carefully aged mahogany and maple, joined using hide glue, a method prized for its resonance and historical accuracy. The neck joint is shaped by hand for a perfect fit, using a long tenon that maximizes sustain. In the Murphy Lab, Tom Murphy and his team spend up to 120 hours on a single instrument, aging the wood and finish to recreate decades of natural wear. Every Burstbucker pickup is hand-wound, and the electronics are wired point-to-point by skilled luthiers. These details demand a steep price, usually between $8,000 and $12,000, but for professionals and collectors, the craftsmanship and attention to detail transform the guitar from a tool into a work of art. At the highest level, price stops tracking performance and starts tracking rarity. A handful of original bursts from 1958 to 1960 have crossed the $200,000 line at auction, with the Jeff Beck Oxblood Les Paul selling for over $1.3 million and the #1 prototype closing at $930,000. But for every six-figure headline, there are thousands of custom shop and Murphy Lab Les Pauls trading hands at far lower prices. On Reverb, a used custom shop 1959 reissue averages between $9,000 and $12,000, often less than half its original sticker price once it leaves the dealer wall. Even a studio, bought new for $2,199, typically resells for $1,200 or less, holding just 60 to 70% of its value. Above the studio tier, the depreciation curve flattens, and extra thousands by hand aging, rare finishes, or provenance, not a leap in tone or playability. The market draws a hard line. Price and value part ways at the top. The Les Paul isn't just a price tag, it's a choice about what matters most in your hands right now. The sound you chase is built on your priorities, not the sticker.